Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and Byron Donalds goes into enemy territory on CNN and absolutely smokes this anchor who is trying to uplift Kamala Harris as the greatest thing since sliced bread. He gives her a much needed dose of reality. Now, before we dive into the video, I want to give a quick shout out over to our amazing sponsors at Colonial Metals Group. They quite literally have the key to Bidenflation, but more on that later. Now, let's get back into the video.
This is the first time that overall inflation measured on year-over-year basis has come in below 3% since March of 2021, a trend that you could say could be good for the Harris campaign, maybe fueling the Fed to begin to cut interest rates in the fall. What's your reaction to it?
My reaction to it is that Kamala Harris's administration with Joe Biden crippled families across our entire country.
Yep.
There was a video of a black woman being interviewed, I think by MSNBC, talking about how prices have gone up massively. A bell pepper that was $2 is now $5, and she was able to get through it. But what about a single mom with 2 kids, 3 kids doing everything to make ends meet? Well, the reason why those prices have been massively expensive is because Kamala Harris was the tie-breaking vote on Joe Biden's American Rescue Plan in 2021. She was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act. All that did was create massive government spending, which created massive inflation on the backs of the American people. Overall, prices are up well over 20%, especially when you start getting into food and other areas like that. So Kamala Harris's record has been one of leaving working families behind. When Donald Trump was president, we didn't have a massive inflation. Our economy was growing massively at the same time. Working families were getting ahead. Middle-income families getting ahead. Everybody was thriving. I think so. The key issue is what was just brought up about which candidate is the candidate of political and economic change. It's without question that candidate's Donald J. Trump, because Kamala Harris was sitting there shotgun with Joe Biden, creating one of the worst economic situations for working families in the last 40 years in the United States of America.
Now, more voters are seeing him as too old to be president compared to what voters thought back in May. This was a Democratic problem. Is this now a Republican problem?
Well, first of all, with the polling that you're talking about, I'm not totally surprised, because if you look at Kamala Harris over the last 24 days, what have we seen? She won't answer questions. She won't talk to your network or any other network. She has no specific policy. No, but this does matter. It does matter, and let me explain. If she won't answer questions, hard-hitting questions about her record and what she's going to do, not the fluff about joy and moving forward and freedom. We're talking about the real political and policy issues that are going to affect the American people. She's nowhere to be seen. She will not answer questions. She has not talked to the American people. On her own website, there are no policies.
But when you think,
so
you
it's
think when
easy
she
to run
answers
as if you're a
questions,
Hollywood starlet, but we're running for president.
But you think when she sits for interviews, lays out policy, you think that's going to lead with more people thinking she is too old to be president? I'm trying to follow the line here.
No, it's not about her age. It's about her ability and her competency to lead our country going forward. What's going to be her economic agenda? Is that going to be different from Joe Biden? I don't think so, because Susan Rice is on the record now saying that Kamala Harris was integral in the Joe Biden-Kamala Harris agenda. I just laid out for you that she voted and she broke the ties in the Senate to push Joe Biden's economic agenda. So she has to answer for that. What is she going to say? Oh, I just want to move forward. And let's go back to another one. When she ran for president in 2020, when she was in the United States Senate, she supported the massive Green New Deal. She supported Medicare for All, a co-sponsor. She ran on that in 2020. Now she's trying to throw out staffers to run away from that. So what I am saying is not about age, about being a candidate for political and economic change to help our country thrive. Whether you're black or white, rich or poor, middle income, it doesn't matter. That person's Donald J. Trump.
And he's absolutely right. When it comes to policy, pound for pound, Donald Trump blows the USS Kamala right out of the water. But this isn't quite the home run that I wish this was. And I hate being critical of Byron Donalds because this is really nitpicky. But this anchor, for some reason, lets him talk. She lets him get away with this on CNN. I'm shocked that she did. But she was trying to make this equivalency because this was the line of questioning that she wanted to go down. And this is why Byron Donalds pivoted. And I don't really like it when politicians pivot. But that's just a personal thing. She was trying to compare the ages of Biden and Trump, which are very comparable. They're not too far off in age. Nowhere near in the ballpark of Joe Biden. We saw his decline. He was doing well until about late 2021, and then it was just off the rails and been a train wreck since then. With him falling off his bicycle, falling upstairs, that weird walk that he had, and eventually the hands. Hey y'all, in case you haven't noticed, this isn't stretching like it used to. As a matter of fact, it's turning more into this. Folks, we are in an inflationary crisis, and that's why this show is sponsored by Colonial Metals Group. The experts led by CEO Paul Stone fully understand the minute details of investing in gold, silver, and other precious metals. They are here to protect your wealth against the insanity that has been Bidenomics and our refusal to stop printing money. And they even have a deal for first-time buyers. Free gold and silver IRA-backed accounts, insured storage for 5 years, up to $7,500 in free silver, and a personal safe to keep all this good stuff. So take a look at their website, link in the description below, or give them a call at this number to see what Colonial Metals Group can do to protect your wealth today. What I wish Donalds would have done here is go, Donald Trump is getting older, and compare his rhetoric and abilities to that of Joe Biden's. We just saw him the other day ramble through a speech that made no coherent sense. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is giving rally after rally after rally, and while he might ramble, he at least makes sense and sticks to what seems like a script. And then you compare the man with dementia who had Kamala by his side the whole entire time. You're really comparing the wrong thing here. And that's why Donalds is hammering so hard when it comes to policy, because again, he's right. And it gets even worse when you start analyzing the policy side. So that's why I wanted him to bring up Trump and say, compare Trump's energy to that of Biden's energy. Now, this could have played into CNN's hands here, because they could have said, well, here's an example of Trump's current gaffes. Here's an example of Kamala's increasing rallies. Here's an example of Kamala's surges. So maybe I get it. Maybe he picked the right thing. Because again, I'm not a member of Congress. I don't do rhetoric for a living. I just give you my terrible opinions and reactions. So Byron Donalds might actually have gotten this right in hindsight, by not talking about the issue and slightly pivoting from the question back to the main point. And the main point is this: Kamala Harris owns everything wrong with the Biden administration. She was joined at the hip. She was chosen and she didn't ever deviate from the policy platforms. And in rhetoric, she's even trying to distance herself, but no one in their right minds is going to buy that. No one in their right minds is going to look at Kamala, who was in lockstep with Joe Biden for the entire 4 years of his erroneous presidency. And they're going to look at that and go, why are you changing your tune now? Is there something that you did wrong during the last administration? The average person isn't as dumb as you think, or at least isn't as dumb as Democrats think they are. The average person is smart enough to go, wait a minute, Trump's been talking about this. Why are you just now on this bandwagon? They're going to look at her and question why she's pivoting. So you know what? I might be wrong. I might have nitpicked a little bit too far. I think Byron Donalds did the right thing, because by turning this from a personal fight between Trump and Biden, he's made it a policy fight between him and Kamala. Now, policy doesn't win elections. Vibes win elections. But ultimately, people will start looking at the vibes, and they'll start listening, and then something is not going to add up, which means they're either going to sit down at home and just let the chips fall where they may, or they're going to go with Trump because they know times were better under Trump, the economy was better, inflation was lower, and your gas prices were better. Seems like a no-brainer to me. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. And until then, y'all have a good one.